Good morning, class. I hope everybody's having a good week 9. Um, Hopefully your weekend went well. And if you check your grades, all the grades pretty much at this point, um, up until you turn in your proposal for this week, is should be up to date. Now, some of y'all took advantage of the extra credit opportunities. Remember, I sent out an email that listed 3. There was another extra one that I listed if you could make it to that particular Stingray sort of study session. We're going to have one in Camden County campus this Wednesday. Hopefully be able to make it to that or one of the other ones on the list. If you do make it to a different campus, make sure that you sign in the sign-in sheet. I would, take some brochures or take some pictures so you can use that as proof in case that sign-in sheet gets sort of lost if you want some of those extra credit points. The other extra credit opportunity was, remember, the weekly assignments are basically what they were called, sort of low stake assignments. You had a Wolf assignment, a Hughes assignment, and a Dinian assignment, as well as peer reviews 1 through 3. You should have emailed me and told me which one you wanted me to drop of those 6. And then you had the opportunity, if you wanted to revise your Essay 4, which was your midterm grade. If you want to revise that and send that in, you can let me look at it. If you want to send me some drafts to look at before you actually upload it to the Dropbox, and I will have a Dropbox for that as that due date comes in closer to, I believe it's the 1st of November, but I double check that. And then the other extra credit opportunity dealt with the library orientation, which is you had a pre-test and a post-test, as well as some slideshows that go with finding resources using Galileo and databases that you're going to need when it comes to not only the assignment I'm fixing to discuss, which is the Annotated Bibliography assignment, which is basically going to cover weeks 11, 12, and 13. It's going to take us really up until that week of Thanksgiving break. You're going to need your 6 scholarly sources throughout weeks 11, 12, and 13. I'm going to break it up where you're having to do a set 1, set 2, set 3. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be all daunting. If you get a chance to look at, and I will show that to you here momentarily, the actual assignment sheet for the annotated bib, the model example that I have for the student here does all 6. So he combines all 6. You don't have to combine all 6 for your particular annotated bib, but looking at the patterns, looking at the organization, I mean, you're doing 2 sets at a time or 2 citations at a time. It still sort of gives the same flow and feeling to what you would need to do. So for the first set, because remember, you really want to start hitting the annotated bib assignment after you submit your proposal. And again, the proposal is due this Sunday. So make sure that is in. You should have a research paper topic chosen. You should have a, work on those questions for the proposal. There's a model example there that I, show you how to set it up. And then after you turn that in, the final draft, then you really need to start with finding your 2 scholarly internet sources, 2 scholarly journal articles, and 2 scholarly books. Now, again, I would highly recommend, because I'm trying to give y'all some extra credit points, but even besides that, you probably would really need to look at that library orientation video or handout, basically the hyperlink to it that I sent out a week or so ago in email, because you're going to have to get 4 of these 6 sources from a library somewhere. Again, 2 scholarly books, 2 scholarly journal articles, whether you're using a college library, a public library, if you're a dual enrollment student using your own high school library, 4 out of the 6 sources really need to come from a library somewhere. So let me share the actual assignment sheet. You will see this assignment sheet as it gets closer to the 29th, because that's when the week 11 folder is actually going to open up. And it will look sort of like this, as it does on your end once you're able to look at the week 9 stuff. And basically, the annotated bib, for short, bibliography, bibs, however you want to say it. Some of you may or may have not have done this in high school. So you sort of go from the easiest assignment the whole semester, which should be the proposal. I mean, again, after you get a research paper topic chosen from that particular list, you should be able to start answering, especially if you did a little bit of brainstorming, you know, week 8, week 9, that type deal, week 10. You should be able to answer those 5 questions and, you know, make your answers into a decent size paragraph if you look at the model and sort of follow that particular template. After you pick a research paper topic and submit the proposal, you're going to be ready to go out and find your sources. So as it says here, after picking your research paper topic and submitting your proposal, you should now examine, read, gather, and take notes on your 6 scholarly sources that will help you write your research paper and support your thesis, claims, major points throughout that particular research paper. So you need again, to reiterate here, you need 2 scholarly journal articles, 2 scholarly books, and 2 scholarly websites. Remember, Wikipedia is not a scholarly website. So be careful. Anything that's .gov, .edu, .org are really reputable websites. Again, if you look at the library orientation information that I sent out with that hyperlink to that information, it will sort of go through what is reliable and what is not reliable. So you want to sort of kind of keep that in mind. That's not to say you can't use some .com sites, right? Like, you know, certain news organizations have a .com site. You can use .coms. You just want to be careful where the information is coming from and make sure that it is reliable and verifiable. You would need to be answering the following questions for each of your 6 sources to create your annotated paragraphs. You must use easybib.com to create the proper MLA citation above your annotated paragraphs. So you can use easybib.com if you want. I've used that, you know, ever since I came out of college or during college. That's one of many that you can use. There's a lot of other ones out there that you can use that might be a little bit more friendly at this point, you know, user friendly, because EasyBib's got a lot of ads and stuff. So it's still free, but it gets sort of glitchy over time. But there's really 2 points or 2 parts to your annotated bib. You have your citation, which comes before your actual annotated paragraph, which is the second part. And you get the second part by answering the 4 questions below, which we're going to talk a little bit about here momentarily. An annotated bibliography is the full MLA reference of a source, followed by notes and commentary about a source. The word annotate means critical or explanatory notes, and the word biography means a list of sources. Annotations are meant to be critical in addition to being descriptive. Annotated bibliographies are useful because they present a list of resources that others can use for research, and each resource has information that describes what is in it and that evaluates it, describes what makes it unique, useful, or helpful. The format for an annotated bibliography is similar to that of a research paper. Use 1-inch margins on all sides, double space your entries, appletize each entry by author's last name. Hanging indents are required for citations where and when needed. Indentions for annotations are also formatted using the hanging indent. So here are the questions. So as you get each one of your 6 sources, so the first set of annotated bibs that are going to be due is going to be the internet sources or the web sources. They're going to be due on the 5th of November, which is a Sunday by 11:59. The next set of sources, which will be due during week 12, they're going to deal with your 2 scholarly journal articles. They're going to be due again by 11:59 on Sunday, November 12th. And then your final, or your set 3 annotated bib sources that are going to be due during week 13, which is going to be Sunday, November 19th. So when we think about November, there's going to be something due of the annotated bibs, because set 1's due on the 5th of November, set 2 is on the 12th, and set 3 is due on the 9th. So think the 5th is the 2 internet websites that you're going to need scholarly in relation to your research paper and topic. On the 12th, the 2 scholarly journal articles. Again, you would probably want to go to a library before the 12th of November and use some of the databases that is available to you. And then by the 19th, again, you probably want to go to the library to get the 2 scholarly books that you would need to be able to complete that set for your annotated bib. Because once we get on to the week of the 20th, basically that's Coastal Pines Thanksgiving break, which officially starts on the 21st, and it goes from the 21st through the 26th. So by the time we start back on the 27th, which is Monday, that's basically the last week of November, you're going to have all, pretty much all of Thanksgiving week, all of that final week of November to basically draft and finalize your research paper for the first week of December when it's going to be due. So that's why it's important that you take some time to actually read the 6 best sources that you want to use or need to use. And when I mean annotate, you want to take notes. You want to pick out the quotations that you plan on using. Maybe you're going to need to paraphrase or summarize some of the information in these books or journal articles or websites. And as we go through week 11, 12, and 13, I'm going to give you information on how to cite properly, so you are not going to, hopefully, not get caught up and plagiarize the research paper. Because again, if the first offense is a 0, then that's going to drop you about 20 points, which a lot of you at this point probably can't afford. And if you do it a second time, you basically fail the course, and we have to go before a panel of folks, president, vice president, a couple other folks here at the college, and then they determine whether you are suspended for a couple semesters, years, or barred, period. So it's not really wise to plagiarize on any paper, especially a research paper. If you need help with that, again, reach out to either a tutor in person or online, tutor.com. Reach out to your local librarian, reach out to me. We can help you before you turn something in and I start grading it. Once I start grading it, and if it's plagiarized, at that point, because you're going to have weeks to draft and develop this stuff. It's not like you're turning all this in tomorrow. You're going to have pretty much the rest of October, all of November, and probably that first week of December to get a lot of this stuff completed. So it's not like you're being rushed. Now, if you wait until the last minute, that's not going to be good, because most students who wait for until the last minute to do a lot of this stuff generally don't make the best grade on the paper. They usually risk plagiarizing it, because now they're stressing and the anxiety kicks in. So they're trying to find a place to buy a paper or use somebody else's paper from another college, which all this stuff, when you upload your paper, it's going to SafeAssign, which is a plagiarism checker. If that paper has been used somewhere else and has been uploaded through the same program, it's still stored there. So whether if you borrow on somebody's paper, let's say from even Tokyo, Japan, if it's going through SafeAssign, it's going to be stored. So be wary of that. Same deal with the AI stuff. Be careful of you can't afford a 0 on pretty much on any assignments heading forward to the end of the semester. So when we look over here at these questions, so after you get your 6 sources. Now, you can kind of do this in a couple of different ways. You can sort of take the time and go out there and get all 6 sources within a week or 2 if you want. That might be beneficial because it could save time. Or you can do it as one set is due. Like the first set is dealing with internet sources, internet scholarly websites. web sources. You can take the first two that you find there that seems to be really good as it relates to your topic, that you can kind of integrate into your actual essay, your research paper to build your points. And with each one of those sources, after you really read them and take notes and annotate, you have these 4 questions. So you're going to ask these same 4 questions basically 6 times because you have 6 sources. The answers to these questions are going to be different because you have 6 different sources. So the first one, what are the main arguments, points, topics covered in this particular source? Number 2, is this particular source as it relates to the information about your topic, objective or biased? I think we kind of, is the information reliable? If it's objective, you want to try to find stuff that is objective as much as possible. The bias basically means there's a lean. The author is really favoring one side over the other. So you want to kind of be careful of that. That's not to say you can't use some of those sources, but you want to kind of have that balance. If you have somebody that's leaning toward one particular direction in the source, you might want to find another source that's sort of going in the opposite direction. So you're not sort of leaning, more to the right or to the left if you look at it in political terms. The third question, how can you use this particular source in your research paper? How is this particular source helpful to you? Hopefully you kind of take some time to read these sources really well, because again, as it relates to the internet sources, you may not find, your first 2 really reliable sources that are really jammed up and good to use for your research paper on the first page of Google. You may have to do a little bit of digging. You may have to go to page 9 of Google or page 4. I just wouldn't pick the first 2 that pop up. I would try to read a little bit more. I would really, look at the dates, look at the credentials of the authors. Who are they? Do they have any expertise in that particular field? Do they have any kind of degrees? Do they have any kind of experience working with that particular area of your research? The last question, how has this particular source changed how you think about your topic now? Now, you may come into this thinking one way with your topic, but as you start reading your 6 scholarly sources, you may have a totally different opinion, and that's fine. At the same point, you may start reading these sources and sort of still have this, same opinion as you did coming into it, and that's fine too. You just have to be able to articulate that and write that down so your audience, which would be me in this case, would understand that. So if we scroll down, again, this is how your annotated bib should look. Again, I had to preface this by saying this particular student includes all 6. You're not going to have to include all 6 because we're doing it week by week. So you can look at this as it relates to the style. I do have information over here in the margins that if you click on it, it gives you additional information. You're going to have, your header, your name, last name, my name, last name, your course, English 1101 or 1010, and then the date that it's due for that particular set. So in this case, since this one was a whole set, that's why the date is this way. Make sure that you do have your page number, but also your last name near your page number in the top right-hand corner. Some folks are still losing points for these really easy things like the header and the page numbers. Then give yourself sort of a title. So since we're only focusing on the first 2 sets, or the first set, which deals with your internet articles, which are going to be due on the 11th of November, right? Or not the 11th of November, the 5th of November, sorry. What you could do, for argument's sake, I can show you how that would sort of look. So I'm gonna basically get rid of the other 4 and just show you how the 2 should look when you turn it in. So notice we do have a title. You want to have a title that's similar to this. You could say research paper, annotated bib, scholarly sources 1 through 2 at this point. or you could say internet sources or web sources 1 through 2. But notice again, like I said, you have to have that MLA citation first. It comes before each one of these paragraphs. Again, if you click over here, I'll give you additional information in the comments. You want to have last name and then first name. Notice there's a comma between the last and the first. If it's a web article, which the first two need to be, was set 1, that particular article, the title is going to be in quotation marks. Kind of keep that in mind. And then as you answer these 4 questions, you're taking your answers to build your paragraph. As you can notice, this particular paragraph is a little bit lengthy. This particular student had more to say. Maybe this particular website was a little bit lengthy as it relates to the article, but really the first couple sentences, maybe the first 2 sentences, answer the first question. The next 2 sentences answer question 2. The next 2 sentences answer question 3. The next 2 sentences answer question 4. So if you follow in order, you can take your answers to your sentences to build this particular paragraph. So that's what they particularly did here. And that's what they did throughout the whole entire assignment. You answer these 4 questions, you use your sentences to build the paragraph. If you go in order, you should just be, I should be able to find the answers to number 1, 2, 3, and 4 by just saying, okay, well, answer number 1 should probably be the first 2 sentences. Here it is. Answer number 2 probably should be the next 2 sentences. Here they are. I say 1 to 2 sentences should be enough. Again, if you need to go a little bit lengthy, like this person did, you can. I would try to keep it, if you do 1 sentence, that should be a 4-sentence paragraph, and that's fine. If you do 2 sentences to be able to complete these answers, that would be 8. So if you're looking for a rough ballpark answer about how long your paragraph should be, I would probably say between 4 and 8 sentences. If you need to go a little bit lengthier than that, maybe up to 10, that's fine. But if you start finding yourself getting, 15, 20, 25 sentences, then you're really saying too much and risk getting sort of burned out for the research paper, because you want to kind of save some of that stuff for that 6 to 8 page research paper that you're going to have to come back and start drafting and finalizing after the 19th of November. So you do that for the first one, first scholarly website, and then you would have the second one that follows, again, ABC order by author's last name. And we have the same information as it relates to this particular source. This person read the source. They go back to these 4 questions. They take their sentence answers to be able to construct this particular paragraph. Again, this one's a little bit lengthier, but again, in this case, the source was a little bit longer. So you're going to do that for each one of your sources. So again, on the 5th of November, you would have your 2 scholarly websites. On the, I believe it's the 12th of November, which would be the following Sunday, you would have your 2 scholarly journal articles, and then you wrap this up the week that we go on to Thanksgiving break with your last set of annotated bibs, which deals with your 2 scholarly books on the 19th. And you basically, like I said, you're using those same 4 questions for each one of these 6 sources. You're taking your sentence answers, and if you go in order, you will have your paragraph in no time. Basically, at this point, once you take your sentences and make your paragraphs out of it, you really just want to check for spelling and grammar and that type stuff. So there's 2 parts. Again, citation, and then the actual paragraph, which comes from reading your sources, taking your own notes, and going back and answering those 4 questions that are there in the first part of this particular assignment sheet. It's going to be a little bit repetitive, but that's good. That's going to be a good thing, because again, you're not having to come up and try to figure this out on your own. I do give you sort of a template to follow, and I give you some questions to sort of help you guide through the process from week 11 to week 12 to week 13. Because sometimes you do these and there's no really template to follow except for, hey, you need to have it in MLA format. And then the instructor won't give you any type of guidance as it relates to the questions or how to go about setting up your paragraphs. Here, I sort of cut all that guesswork out. I will say this, since there are 4 questions, if you get to the point where you can't answer more than 1 or 2 of these, I would suggest that you find a different source, because that source is probably not going to be a good source for you to use as it relates to actually developing, drafting, and finalizing your research paper. It may be helpful to just have a source there to get you through the actual set, whether it's a set 1 or set 2 or a set 3 for the annotated bib. But again, these are the 6 best sources that you plan on using in your paper. A lot of students like to get this kind of confused. They think that the annotated bib is the research paper. No, this is just the second component to the research paper. It's getting you, it's like the proposal. The proposal sort of builds up to the annotated bib. The proposal annotated bib sort of builds you up to the point where you can actually start drafting and then finalizing the actual research paper. You're using the sources that you have or going to have in these sets within the actual research paper. So that's why you want to make sure that whatever you choose here or whatever you pick for your 6 sources, those are guaranteed going to be throughout that research paper. Because a lot of times students will like to double work themselves. They would get 6 sources for the annotated bib, and then they would come back and get all kind of confused and say, well, I got 6 other sources, so now you got basically 12. Which one are you going to use? It's better to work smarter and not harder. Now, if you get to the point where you want to add additional sources to your research paper, that's fine, but you still want to use the 6 that you have with your annotated bib. So you want to use those 2 scholarly journal articles, 2 scholarly books, 2 scholarly websites. That's the whole point of taking the next 3 weeks to do the research. I want you to go ahead and get all that stuff, narrowed down, picked out, copied and pasted or printed or checked out, whatever you got to do to get it in your possession so you can start taking the notes, making the annotations, saying, hey, this is a really good quote. I can put this in my 3rd or 4th paragraph. Or this is a really good quote. It's kind of long, but I want to paraphrase it and maybe put it on page 5 somewhere. So the whole point of doing this is to sort of help you collect the sources that you definitely want to use in that particular research paper. Because otherwise, if you don't have any sources, if you're not using any of this stuff from the annotated bib, 1, it's just going to be a waste of 3 weeks for you. And 2, if you don't have research in the actual paper, quotations, paraphrasing, summarizing, you're actually citing the stuff with a works cited page and doing so parenthetically and in text, then you're not really writing me a research paper. You're just giving me a regular old essay, just like you did for essay 2 or 3. So if there's no research in there, you're not going to get anything above a C. I can tell you that right now, because you're not following instructions. The whole purpose of doing the annotated bib is to get you out there, so you're not procrastinating until the last week before this is due to try to find all 6 sources. So you're doing a little bit each week, which if you're able to do that and do it successfully, not only are you going to get a really good grade on this particular assignment, which is more of a challenging assignment compared to some of the other ones you've done up to this point, but it should also yield a really good research paper, because you're taking the time to go through and actually read and do the research. There's boots on the ground. And, at this time, it's going to be more or less your boots on the ground, because you're going to have to go to the library maybe multiple times. You're going to have to check out these books or print out these journal articles or print out these websites. You're going to have to actually read them and take notes and that type deal, because, again, I have over 100 students. So everybody should, based on that particular research paper topic list, since there's nearly 25 topics, everybody should really have a different topic in each one of my classes. So that's why I say the burden on this point really is going to be on you to go out there and hit the payment and read your sources and take the notes. I don't have time. I can't read everybody's sources. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to pick out the quotes you think are pertinent, significant, and important. Just because I don't have time to do that for 100 students. You think about it. Every student here, if they had 6 sources times 100, that's over 600, 700 sources, not counting how many pages each sources would be. So you're going to have to sort of do a lot of this, a good bit of it on your own. Now you can email me some stuff. I can tell you whether it's reliable or not reliable. If you have a question about a website or a particular journal article, pay attention to the abstracts for journal articles. Usually you can kind of tell if there's anything in there about your particular topic just by reading that abstract. It's usually on the first page before the introduction paragraph. When you're dealing with books, I would look at the table of contents and the index page to see if your topic's listed for more than a couple pages. If it's only listed for like a page or two, I would definitely look at it, but see if it's really any there's any benefit of just using that source if it's only mentioned a couple times on, let's say, page 45 or something. I will say this, the journal articles that you're going to get from the databases are probably going to be a little bit lengthy. And what I mean by lengthy, 25, 30 pages. You want to make sure to give yourself enough time as we go into week 12, I believe, which that would be the 12th of November, dealing with those journal articles, that you're going to be able to read the 2 that you're going to need and be able to answer these 4 questions to complete that particular annotated bib set 2. As it relates to the journal articles, I would probably say anything from about 5 pages to 20 pages should be enough. I would try to keep it in with those. I wouldn't try to go really any lengthier than maybe 20 pages, just because you want to have enough time to be able to digest 2 scholarly journal articles. I wouldn't use anything that's going to be less than that, like 2 or 3 pages, because sometimes that's not going to give you enough. As it relates to the website, set 1 annotated bibs, because websites don't really have pages, right? They have, pages that we can count. You just want to kind of use your own judgment on that. Some pages may be, they may have more that you have to click to go to additional pages. But I would be wary about where you're getting the information. Don't get it somewhere off of some Yahoo from Facebook or X, or formerly known as Twitter, or whatever the case, especially if they don't have any experience in that particular topic or field, because anybody can go online and basically run their mouth and say they know something when they don't. We've all sort of experienced that, I'm sure, over the years. If you dealt with anybody blog-wise or social media-wise, some people think they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. They don't have any more of a clue than you do sometimes, but they want to come off like they do. The books, that's where you want to kind of be careful, because with that topic list that I provided, those 23 or 24 topics, you're going to find books pretty much on every single topic that I've listed there. And these books are going to go anywhere from 100 pages to 1,000 pages. Now, since you need 2 of them, I wouldn't want to be the person that goes out and gets 2 500-page books, because that's 1,000 pages you're going to have to read within a week or 2 to be able to answer all, those 4 questions and get your annotated paragraphs and citations in a way that you're able to turn that final set in by the deadline on the 19th of November. So again, work smarter, not harder here. Unless you just like reading and you can, read 1,000 pages in 7 days or 14 days and be able to remember a good bit of it, knock yourself out if that's what, that floats your boat or whatever. But what I would suggest that you do with the books is find chapters. Again, this is where you're going to have to probably go to the table of content or the index of the particular book to see if there is a chapter dedicated to your topic, or if your topic is mentioned in a particular chapter, a good bit of that chapter. Because it's easier to read a chapter that's 10 or 15 pages compared to reading a book that's 500 pages twice. So that's how I would approach the books. And again, you can do this, e-text, e-books, physical books, e-journal articles, physical journal articles. Obviously, the internet stuff you're going to have to find on the web. But if you do a little bit each day and take your time throughout the week, for each week, for the next 3 weeks, it shouldn't be that daunting of a task. I would definitely follow this particular student, Paul Smith's template, because this person made a 90 or higher. If you choose to go and use something different, or for whatever reason, don't want to use this template, I can't guarantee where your grade is going to be, but I can say that this particular person, this student, followed my suggestions, followed the template that I let him look at, and got the 90 or higher on the actual assignment. So if you follow instructions, if you reach out and ask for help, whether through tutor.com and in-person tutor at your particular campus that is closest to you, email your librarian, email me. Some of you in my actual Coastal Pines courses that are not eCampus, we do have a built-in embedded librarian who has her name is Lorna. I did send out some information a couple weeks ago introducing you. She's here at the Camden campus. There's a folder that she's put some information in that you probably want to go through and look at as well as you start researching and writing the annotated bibs and drafting this stuff for the actual paper. There's also a live 24/7 library chat. Keep in mind, some of those librarians are the librarians that we do have here, spread out throughout Coastal Pines. Some of them are other librarians, at other colleges. That stuff is being recorded, so be careful how you answer or ask your questions. You don't want to have an embarrassing situation on your hands there. I will say, at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you can basically ask a question to a librarian. It may not be one of the librarians that we actually have at Coastal Pines, just because I know they pretty much go home about 6 o'clock Monday through Thursday. But there will be somebody on the other line of that particular chat box that will probably get back to you and answer. So, I mean, there's somebody there 24/7. It just may not be a Coastal Pines librarian if you ask after 6 o'clock during a weekday. But they will be able to assist you with your, searching for sources and that type deal. Otherwise, you can send me drafts of your sets as you get, closer to getting finished with them. Again, if you have a tutor.com account that you can use, you can send them drafts as well. What I would suggest that you tell them is that it's an annotated bib, so they don't start looking at it as being a research paper and an essay and start, reviewing it differently. I would tell them, hey, this is a annotated bibliography for 2 scholarly websites or 2 scholarly journal articles. That way they can sort of approach it and give you feedback as it relates to an annotated bib assignment. Otherwise, that's pretty much the annotated bibs in a nutshell. Again, if you start early, if you get, a good bit of your sources and you start, answering those questions as you finish reading your sources and put those answers, your sentence answers into a paragraph form to build, then you'll have your annotated paragraph in no time. You would just have to probably go to a works cited generator, and I can probably show you one of those real quick. What I would suggest that you do is go to Google, type in MLA9 works cited generator. And you can use EasyBib if you want. Like I said, it's reliable. It's just it gets to where it wants to get glitchy. My bib is pretty good. You just want to make sure that it's in MLA 9, not MLA 8, and then just follow the instructions, right? If it's a website, type in the URL there, hit search. If it's a legit website, it will sort of give you all the information. You just have to sort of follow the instructions. Same thing for the book, journal, You do have other ones, and the reason why I say 2 books, 2 internet sites, and 2 journal articles, it's just usually when you think of research, that's what you get. That's usually where you find a good bit of information at. And if you look, most works cited generators already have that stuff here, which will make it a lot easier when you have to apply it to get that citation. Now, let's say that you can't find 2 books on your particular topic because there's really just nothing out there, or they're really lengthy, right? 750 pages each, and you don't have time to read 750 pages each. Then you can use other things as long as they're scholarly. So maybe substitute, instead of finding 2 scholarly books, see if you can find 2 scholarly videos. Sometimes there's educational videos on YouTube that can be helpful. Or you can hit more. Maybe you can do interviews. Maybe you can interview an expert or something in that particular field. Just give me 2 of those. So you can kind of mix and match here. I just need to know that you have 6 scholarly sources that are not coming from, just somebody off of, yahoo.blog.com to the third or whatever the case may be, who, I mean, again, doesn't really know their stuff. They're just throwing out opinions. So just sort of kind of keep that in mind. You can mix and match if you need to. I wouldn't try to triple up unless that's just the only option, meaning I wouldn't try to get 3 websites. If you can get a video or a podcast, I would try to go that route with it at first. If it just gets to the point where, hey, I'm really having a hard time even finding podcast or a video, can I, triple up at that point? Then yeah, what I would suggest there, maybe tripling up with, 3 scholarly books or 3 scholarly or journal articles if possible. But I would try to do it 2, 2, and 2, because at that point you're not getting all your information from one particular source. You're not giving me 6 websites or 6 books or 6 podcasts or 6 videos. It's better to spread the research out, doing the 2, 2, and 2, because that really gives a full range and scope of your particular research paper topic, which really helps when it comes to writing it. All right. Again, email me if there's any kind of questions and concerns or issues. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. It's just been kind of a really kind of hectic weekend this past weekend. My wife and eldest daughter got in sort of in a little car accident. Everybody's okay. There's just some cosmetic damage to her particular car. So for the most part, they were just kind of shooken up. Everybody's safe. Everybody's fine. It's just going to cost a little bit of money to get the rear end of her car fixed. So it's just been a kind of that's not one way I wanted to end my weekend, Saturday and Sunday, having to worry about the price and everything of that. So I apologize if I seem kind of just frantically out there at this point. It's just been kind of a crazy weekend. And if anybody that's been in a car wreck and had to go through, some of that stuff, the insurance, cops, the other person, you can kind of understand, the mentality of that. It is a stressful and anxious couple of days there, because you just don't know. But I hope everybody is doing well. It's hard to believe that we're getting into really the final weeks of our semester. It's going to be, end of October, beginning of November. We got Halloween. If you got kids like I do, this coming week is going to be kind of nuts and crazy with all the different parties and stuff they may be having at school, or trunk or treats. And of course, you do have Halloween on a Tuesday, so that's going to be interesting. And then we move into November, where we basically only go for about 3 weeks or so, have the Thanksgiving break, and then we really only have about a week or two, really less than 2 weeks in December, and that's it. So if you look, we have, I think, about 6 weeks left, maybe 4. We have this week, so that's 1, 2, 3. Let's see. 4, 5. Yeah, we have about 6, 6.5. We don't have a lot of time left before you know it, we'll wake up and blink our eyes and it'll be New Year's again. And, we'll be getting ready for the spring 2024 semester. So again, if you haven't signed up for spring semester, I would definitely get in touch maybe with your advisor to see when you can get in to sign up for your classes, because I know they've been working on the spring schedule. I think they're still waiting on a few classes or a few things that they need to add. There is a good bit of information up there regarding the certain classes. So, like nursing or, automotive or whatever the case may be, you may want to go ahead and see what's available so you can go ahead and plan that out. And you're not waiting until the last minute to do that rush, as it's getting kind of crazy, with Thanksgiving toward the end of the semester, Christmas and New Year's. All right, well, I'm going to end it there. Again, reach out if you need to reach out, and I hope everybody has a good rest of your week 10, and I hope week 11 goes well when it deals with these the first set of your annotated bibs. Have a good week and stay safe.